Okay, what's up, everybody? We're live now. This is Dustin Coiner, and we're on Talkin Motorbikes again with the traveling writer, coach, data engineer guy. What
Something like that.
you drive cars and shit. I don't know. You got a fat lip because you got in a fight. Scott Russell. I don't know.
I hang out with Scott Russell. Yeah, I hang out with Scott Russell, and yeah, he took me to a couple of his favorite places.
So what's up, Ken?
Yeah, the normal stuff. Yeah, it's funny. Yeah, the traveling life does bite you in the ass every once in a while. In this case, yeah, I'm coming off of I did what did I do? I did out of 15 days, 14 of them are at the track, and you've been there.
Yeah,
So
dude.
14 days or 15 days, 14 at the track, including two cross country, runs. So that was brutal. And of course, I ended up catching COVID last week. So that was wonderful. So done with that. And then, yeah, today was a skin cancer biopsy. It's freaking awesome.
I mean, you just got to have that in there,
Yeah,
right?
there you go. It's
Yeah.
wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, I've been just doing the show thing. I did have to reschedule Tony's till next week, unfortunately, but I've got you tonight, and then Lucas Jibu tomorrow night. He's like one of those Harley dudes.
Awesome.
The dude's got a beard and everything. Like he's a good dude.
Awesome.
So
Yeah, I mean, honestly, there's so much going on. I don't even know where to freaking start.
I mean,
I,
I think we should start Road America where we
let's
left
get
off.
after it because it
Smoky
was
bikes and all that shit.
Road America. I mean, so Road America is my favorite track.
Yeah,
I don't know. First of all, the first time that I rode there was, I think, around 2009 or 10 with Nick Ionach. We did this Buell thing, and it was the best job in the world. So Nick and I did 6 months of Buell paying us to go beat up people at track days. And it was basically we were riding these stock Buells, and we were there. We were there after Moto America, or after AMA or Moto America, and our job was for 2 days of being at these track days, and our job was literally take a stock Buell. So take a stock Buell and pass everyone. I mean, literally, that was our job. So our job was stock tires. We put a little bit of a setup in them, and then our job was to pass everyone.
yeah.
So one of the tracks we got to go to was Road America, and I just gelled at that place. I loved it. I was quick. I just got along with it, had a great time, and to me, that has just been one of these iconic old school badass tracks.
Yeah.
That is, it's just history, and the area is amazing too, right? Elkhart Lake and just the surrounding area is just wonderful.
Yeah. I mean, they did a repave.
Oh,
Going all the way back to Portugal last year when the rumors of it were coming, like I think I told you back then, Laura Baz found Jake in the pits. I was like Jake's little handler bitch, like I had to make sure like the marketing person, the person at Yamaha Blue Crew wasn't able to make it, and so they're like up my ass to make sure that Jake got to this press conference or whatever. So I'm walking Jake there, and Laura Baz walks up to us and was like, "Dude, Road to America,"
yeah.
I was like, "Oh shit!" So, yeah, I mean, it's
If you've ridden, I mean, it's one of those places where you should go to enjoy your life riding a motorcycle. That's how
yeah,
good it is. Like, don't take a lap timer. It doesn't matter if you're on a 400. It doesn't matter if you're on 1,000. Just enjoy your life and go experience it. It's
I
literally
need
that
to,
good.
man. I
It
need
is that
to.
good.
There's been a lot of scumbaggery for me to come join something out that way. So at some point, I'll get out there.
You should. And of course, yes, they repaved it. So, yeah, there was a lot of, I mean, we'd heard some scuttlebutt, before the days. Being on the car side, I know a lot of guys that were there on the car side, and it was really interesting. The car guys, and of course, they're car guys, they were saying the track was slower. And I was like, I kind of find that hard to believe. But then again, maybe
Yeah.
it wasn't up to temp. I don't know. They're saying, yeah, it's pretty abrasive, but the track seems to be
Dude, I
slower.
heard that too. Actually, there was a little birdie, I guess you could say, taking lap times of one of the at the test, like I don't know, month and a half or 2 months before, and the times were slow, reportedly. And
It
Richard's
also
like,
it
man, I don't
also
know
it
what's going
snowed two
on.
days. Yeah, it snowed 2 days before that, so
Right?
there was
Like,
that.
why are they doing 216s? Like, what's
Yeah.
like,
But
So
yeah, the car guys had said it was slow, and so I thought that was kind of, that was kind of weird.
yeah,
And we get there and we saw, Dunlop had an interesting tire selection, and meaning they went on a little bit of the harder scale. And we are thinking, oh
yeah,
man, we were on the rear R7s and R8s. Fronts, we had choices of R3s, R5s, or R7s. And yeah, I mean, when we went, I was pretty nervous on our side because we normally, to make sure we've got enough tires to do the things we want in Supersport,
right.
we'll run one rear in FP1 and one front in FP1. And a lot of times I'll reuse that front in Q1. So that gives us more rear choices for Q2. And so I had actually prepped a secondary tire for the rear in case we needed it. And CJ went out and did his normal deal.
Right.
And a couple things happened. One, he basically blasted his PB from last year in 5 laps. I mean, just obliterated it.
Just he's
Smashed it.
riding way better though, right? Like
He's riding really well.
some of that
Yeah, but
is
I mean, okay, but we went 4 seconds faster than last year. 4.
shut the fuck up.
Yeah, 4. I mean, 4.
So, like, do you pat your back on him for coaching, because he rode better, or is it just
Um,
so much the track's just better?
No, well, everybody went quicker. I mean, Supersport went 16s. I mean, it was just insane how fast they went.
Yeah,
So I mean, everybody went a couple seconds faster, and that makes sense. But even so, we still picked the pace up quite a bit. But when he came in, the rear tire looked brand new. Like it looked like there's times where tracks get repaved where the rear
Yeah.
tire just looks like it's been sandpapered. It just looks gorgeous.
yeah,
That's kind of how this looked. Now the fronts were tearing. And so we did do some things for the front. I know people were trying different things on the front, but we weren't too concerned with the short race distances.
I mean, we talked about it a little bit on the front, right? Both Cody and Cody Wyman, when I had him on, and then Richard Stamboli kind of confirmed that his riders had similar instances where, in certain places on the racetrack, they'd go to the brakes, barely any brake pressure, and the front tire would just lock up.
There was so much grip. I mean, we had to that point. Yeah. I mean, so going to the new surface, the big complaint was lack of feel, just because it was so smooth. So we had lack of feel. Reference points on track weren't too bad because cars and bikes had been out there, so that at least there was something down for people to check out. So that really wasn't that big of a deal. But yeah, it was one of those deals where the riders would come in and go, it's like, I'm not sure how hard I can push because I don't have the feel.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of why the lap times kept getting better and better is they just didn't understand sort of where the limits were. And on data, it was the same thing. We saw a little bit later braking, a little bit earlier acceleration, and in our world, we just saw mid-corner speeds come up. So
Yeah, I mean, on Richard's data for Jake Gagne, he actually did an overlay from Gagne last year to Gagne last weekend. And, like for the carousel turn, for instance, like Jake was actually quite a bit slower going into it, but faster through the middle and using way more lean angle.
Yeah, that's accurate. We were definitely faster. We were a little bit faster and that could have been just some rider improvement, way faster through the middle, about 3 degrees more lean angle. So yeah, I mean, we kind of echo that, just maybe not on the level of Superbike.
Right.
But yeah, we echo that as well. But yeah, absolutely amazing performances. I mean, how fast the bikes went in Superbike was just
Yeah, dude.
mind blowing.
Like, I mean, Cam Bobier damn near went 08s almost, right? He was like a 2 flat. Yeah, 209 flat, right?
No, I think no, didn't I thought I have to look.
I don't think he got in the. I don't think
or something like
I don't
that,
think he
but
got in the 8s. I think he was like 09 flat.
it was
But they were breaking the lap record like every other lap.
yeah, no, they were super fast.
And more than one rider. I mean, I think even the Ducati broke the lap record at one point.
Yeah, it was nutty. Yeah, it was nutty. So on our side, the Supersport side, for us it went well, except we had a couple issues. One, CJ was having a great run. Race 1, we were actually battling for 8th with Blake Davis and Maz, and it was a great race for us. For CJ, we were in the 19s, which was wonderful. And we ended up getting 10th in that race. And then the second race, Not as quite a good a start, but we battled. Lap times were actually quicker, and CJ was in the hunt for the battle for eighth on the last lap, and then unfortunately tucked it in the chicane. So
That
we got a
sucks.
little bike rebuilding to do, but the fact that his performance was so high was wonderful. And then Maz, Maz had a good performance as well. He had we lost a motor. I think they lost a motor on that side of the tent.
Yeah.
So a little bit of an issue there, and that also might be down to part of the other conversation that we will talk about.
The smoky bikes, right? I mean,
Yeah, the
it's
smoky
it's
bikes.
interesting. Literally, like 20 minutes ago, I just got off the phone with Stampoli, and I guess the VP sent a guy to the shop, and Richard walked him through there. He showed him all the pistons and everything, and basically explained from in full detail the spec of the engine was exactly the same as last year. And the dude, I think the dude from on the fuel from VP was like from the Supercross side, maybe, but he was like, "I'm sorry, man, that sucks." And then they took a fuel sample and left. So I don't know what's gonna happen
Hmm.
with that. But Richard's like, "Dude, this shit cost me 40 grand in six
Yeah.
laps." Like,
Well, yeah. I mean, I can only imagine on his side, and to back up a little bit on the Mazda side of the tent,
yeah,
where everybody's going so fast, and the R6s have to be run at such a high level
right,
to even stay in the show.
yeah,
And yeah, to be fair, Moto America did make an adjustment on the 750s
right,
and the Ducati. We don't quite know what that adjustment was, but it helped even balance things
yeah,
out. And honestly, it was good. I mean, I think my personal opinion is the V2 wasn't that far off anyway.
right,
So I don't think the V2 was that bad. The 750s, of course, still had an advantage off the corner and top speed.
yeah,
So in all fairness, we did see some balancing out with that, and it was definitely good. So that we appreciate.
yeah,
And then again, to run an R6 at that level, it's got to be, everything.
yeah.
Everything has to
Oh,
be perfect.
I know who does your guys' engines.
So
He's like part
well,
of the family, kind of.
so well, so our engines are done by somebody else. So on our side of the tent, but your side, that side of the tent, yeah, Mark does a great job, and but
Right.
to, he knows how to do stuff.
Yeah. Oh,
Come
so
on.
your
And
guys'
so
engines aren't done by Mark?
no, ours are Graves.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, everything on our side of the tent is Graves, and it's just that's the choice that we made a few years ago, and we've got a great relationship with Chuck, and we're very happy with
Fair
everything on
enough.
our side. And Maz's stuff, yeah, Mark is doing Maz's stuff, but again, to run at that level,
Yeah.
man, everything has to be perfect, and
Yeah.
it
I
anyway,
mean, look,
yeah, I don't know.
I know the spec of those things. They're pretty much the same spec as, you know, our team rode
Yep,
at Daytona, basically, right?
correct.
Like that kind of same
Yep.
same stuff, same spec of engine. And but like when you're doing that shit to make the R6 go fast, and if the fuel changes a little bit, piston melts, you know?
Yeah. And again, when you look at it, why, there wasn't a problem. We haven't had a problem in any of the weekends, and suddenly there's
Yeah.
problems. So
Yeah.
anyway, I'm not
Hopefully
saying
they
whatever,
address
but
it, but I mean it's like a summer blend chemicals that we didn't know about, right? I don't know.
yeah, but it sucks. Yeah. Same thing on their side, right? They melt
Yeah.
down a minimum $5,000, probably $8,000 R6 motor. So yeah, it sucks.
Yeah.
So anyway, super sport side, yeah, we had obviously there was a lot to cover with a little bit of the rules changes in asphalt, and our team went super fast. A little drama on our side, but actually we left very happy, and we left with a lot of great information that's going to take us into next weekend.
Rich.
So.
Yeah, so basically your backyard, you could go home at night practically,
Oh,
right?
for sure. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, go to our favorite Mexican restaurant. Life is great. Yeah.
Yeah, uh-huh.
Yeah, it is wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, when I went to the Ridge, we were staying in some hotel like quite like an hour from the track. It was crazy. It's like, and I don't know if you're familiar with the way the Attack Boys work, but it's like once Richard gets a place, that's the place that they go every night.
I get it. I don't
It
know.
was
I'm
like
kind of that way
it
too.
was like
So.
I want to say it was like an Irish pub, right? Like
I
right
don't.
next to the hotel, kind of like.
Oh yeah, I think you guys were staying in Olympia. I'm
Yeah,
not
yeah,
sure
we
where
were
you guys
staying
were
in
staying.
Olympia.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're the opposite. We're on the opposite side, but
yeah,
yeah. Anyway, the ridge is coming up. Weather's looking mild, so yeah, I'm stoked for it. So
nice.
should be good. But yeah, back to your now. I mean, there were other smoky bikes as well.
Yeah. Oh no, not just ours. You know,
Correct.
I mean, there's quite a few smoky bikes out there. You know, I think Aussie Dave had one. Um, the trend was the Yamahas, but you know, like you said, the Yamaha, even on the superbike side, the Yamahas kind of got to go pretty far to get them going. You know, because the rocket ships they have to race against, the newer
Yep.
stuff. You know, I mean, the R1 is a you know the latest generation of the R1 is from 2020, right? So you know, development's basically where it's at, and all the speed you see on the attack superbikes is a lot of the speed is literally out of one genius's mind, right? So you know, what are you gonna
Yeah,
do?
it's not. I mean, yeah. When you look at the other bikes, I mean, the bottom line is look how. I mean, the Beamer's insanely fast,
Yeah,
insanely fast. The Ducati's insanely fast, and those are essentially factory efforts.
yeah,
I mean, meaning that at least they're getting a lot of their base information from it. Now, whether they're taking them in house and doing whatever, I don't know,
yeah.
but a lot of their base information is fundamentally set up that way. And yeah, I mean, those bikes were so fast,
I mean,
unbelievable.
an example of how fast they are. I mean, look at earlier in the week, right? Didn't Peter Hickman like set the overall lap record at the TT on a super stock
Some
thousand bike?
Yeah, so
I
insane
mean,
how fast he went. Yeah,
I
insane.
mean that guy's kind of like got a few extra loose nuts upstairs,
Yeah.
but I mean that's you know what is it 136 mile an hour or something, 138, something like that, something
Yeah, I heard
crazy.
135 something is what I heard, but
Yeah,
I didn't pay too much attention to it. But yeah, I mean, pretty crazy obviously with the repave, but seeing the Ducati there, and seeing the Beamer there. It's a bummer we couldn't have a little bit more closer racing with some. I mean, the racing was pretty good up
yeah.
front, but Cam going out was a little bit of a bummer. Cam Bobier going out in the second race was a little bit of a bummer because I think there was something there. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
I
that was a
thought,
gift for us, honestly. I mean,
yeah,
you know, Jake started the weekend off pretty shit, and you know, obviously race one, you know, the suitor clutch thing or whatever. But yeah, I mean, what are you gonna do, you know? But so it's like, yeah, he threw Cam a gift on Saturday, and you know, Cam gave it back to him on Sunday. So they're kind of like dead even now, right?
yeah, yeah, and it's tough. I mean, anytime that you lose that type of track time in the beginning of the weekend is just brutal. I mean, so I don't know how many laps Jake got in FP1. I think it was only like 4 or 5. And then, sitting out Q1. I mean, that's just a massive amount of time to lose, especially when you're potentially having to reset electronics with new pavement.
Right.
So, yeah, brutal to lose that amount of time there.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's all around, you know, and it seemed like, dude, it's not just me, right? Like every class basically punched through the lap, like all the lap records
Yep.
fell across the board, right?
Yep.
So, I mean, it's pretty impressive.
We already got questions, don't we?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do. S- uh, you know, Avi says, "Did you say Graves? Can we humans get a hold of a Graves built R6 engine? I'm sure you could if you just write a check, a
Pretty much.
big
Yeah. I
check."
mean, pretty much. I mean, that's honestly how my relationship with Chuck started was introducing some clients to him, and
Yeah,
then I have a lot of my stuff that's been done by them, and yeah, their stuff is absolutely positively available to anyone that will write a check, and
right.
that's just how it works.
Well, just to counter that, also, everybody knows that I'm an attack guy, and Attack Performance in Huntington Beach, they
Write a
also
check.
they you write a check, you write a big check, Yosef will build you whatever you want, man.
There you go.
So yeah, and what's great is with working with somebody at that level is there, you see the tuners. I'm just gonna talk shit right now. Not gonna mention any names specifically, but you know, when you go to Attack Performance, or you go to somebody like Chuck, no shortcuts. It's like it is what it is. If the thing's apart, everything's getting replaced. So sorry. The mythical, $1,500 engine rebuilder guy. I don't know what you're getting for $1,500, but it's not an engine rebuild.
I mean, the one thing that I like with them is that the standards are so high, and it's very cut and dry, which is, we can build you this. It's going to cost X amount of money, but it's either that or we're not building it. Otherwise the whole package has to work together, whether it's, the motor, the electronics, all those things have to work hand in hand. And yeah, the bottom line is that if they're not going to build something at that standard, they're just not going to do it. And I know how hard on the grave side, I know how hard those guys work. On the tax side, of course, I know how hard those guys work,
Yeah,
and they're every day is committed to making their products better.
yeah.
And so, yeah,
Yeah,
and
I mean, look,
unfortunately,
like I said,
that's
the mythical $1,500 engine, right?
no, not
But it's
happening.
like, what the fuck are you getting for $1,500? Like the valve springs alone cost more than that,
Yeah,
right? So,
it's yeah. I
um,
mean, that's it. Yeah. Those days, of course, are done. And
yeah,
the other part of it is when you look at the cost, your opportunity cost, right? How much money have you spent to be there?
yeah,
And then you take this other part of the equation. It's actually, in the big picture, it's not that expensive, but the cost of failure is massive. It's massive. So yeah, I don't know. I think you're paying for opportunity is what you're paying for.
right, right. I mean, how much is a DNF worth to you? You know,
After traveling all the way across the country and putting your team up in hotels and et cetera, et cetera. So
right? Yeah,
yep.
yeah. So like having Joe dipshit work on your bike to be a national guy, even a club guy, to be honest with you, man. I mean, it's a few years now, but not gonna throw the guy under the bus any more than I already did in public back then. But the reality is that dude basically, I know at least three guys that quit in one season because that guy, they were trying to save money. I spent an enormous amount of money on an engine from Attack with my R1 back then, and I that engine lasted and lasted. Like I
Yeah.
beat the shit out of that thing, and these guys were spending the $1,500 or $2,500, and they did it three times.
Yep.
They ended up spending more than I spent, you know. So,
Yeah. I
hmm?
I don't know. I just it's you get what you pay for. We'll just leave it
Yeah,
at
yeah.
that. Anyway.
So a lot of stuff happened. I mean, what do you? Well, on the Motor America side, obviously, Superbike. The big thing was Tony Elias decided to punch out. So what do you think of that?
Yeah. I mean,
I
I
mean, I was
think
pretty vocal on social media about what my thoughts were, but what do you think?
I didn't pay. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I heard what he obviously had to say, and I know Tony a little bit, and I think the world of the guy. I think if I mean, look, the bottom line is, look, Tony's used to operating at a certain level, right?
Right,
And if he personally cannot operate at that level, he does not want to be there.
right,
I mean, you know how it is, Dustin. If you I mean, whatever your last PR, your last PB is, right? If you don't get close to that, then you think you suck and your life is over. So I mean, that's the reality
yeah,
of it.
yeah. That's it.
So,
I'm quitting. I'm fucking
and
done.
here's a
Right?
guy that's won a world championship, right? I mean, he's beaten,
He beat Rossi in his prime,
yeah,
bro.
that's what I'm
Like,
saying. He beat the greatest of all time straight up.
yeah,
And so to not be able to perform at that level and know that he's got other issues, whether he gets older, more responsible, whatever's going on, if he can't perform there, I mean, good on him for just not just freaking beating a dead horse, right? If he can't perform at the level he wants to perform, then I get it. Is it a bummer a little bit how it happened? I get it. I mean, it is a bummer, but I also get that it's like, look, I'm not going to spend the rest of the season chasing something that I can't do.
Yeah, yeah,
But it's a shame because I think he's great for the sport. I think it's, I mean, I think he was a game changer when he came here in 16.
yeah.
Game changer. I
Dude, he
mean,
made everybody elevate. I mean,
big
he
time.
stepped in. Jake Lewis got injured. And all of a sudden he had to step in, and dude, he stepped in and knocked it out of the fucking park, right?
Yep.
And then the next year he won. So,
Yep.
pretty crazy stuff.
Yeah, on a new platform. So I
Yeah,
mean, yeah, I mean, he is, to me, he's just the ultimate professional. And I think if he can't perform at the levels that he wants to perform at, or where he wants, or doesn't see a way of getting there for whatever reason, then yeah, I get it.
yeah. Well, I mean, the dude. Also, I mean, look, it's a cyclical nature in Superbike. Every several years, I guess, goes by, and there's one team that just pokes through and just kind of dominates, right? I mean,
Yeah.
and that year that Tony won, Suzuki was, I mean, the Yamahas couldn't even stay in their draft then, right? And it's been a long time since that's been the case, but yeah, I mean, now it looks like the BMW and the Ducati are kind of doing that, so we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, again, yeah, you have to fight. You have to fight for your position, and if you're not fighting for your position, yeah, it's easy to get punched in the face for sure.
Yeah. So, that to me was the biggest thing. Obviously, Tony's rather public announcement, and then the cameras abruptly stuck in Chris Ulrich's face after, and like I said on the show the other night, I was like, dude, it's pretty shit to stick the camera in his face right after that. But, I thought his reaction was a little gross, but that's my opinion.
I mean, I think it's tough on all parties, right? I mean,
Right.
Tony throws a hand grenade, and it's tough, from Chris's perspective. Obviously, it's tough to want to be able to react to that. So yeah, I mean, let's put it this way. I don't want to be in either one of their positions.
Yeah.
Yeah, not a good time. But
By the
how about
way,
this?
Knutson is telling me that we should do a T-shirt that says, "If I don't get close to my PR or whatever, I quit."
Yeah, I mean, there's so many stories. I have
I
so
could
many
totally
stories.
make that shirt too.
Oh, I know. I have so many stories that I could talk about. People like, that's it, I quit.
Yeah,
But it's tough
it
because,
happens.
well,
I've been there.
the problem in our sport on the rider side is that you actually spend most of your time in the plateau stage. In
Yeah,
other words, so you go up and life is amazing. Everything, this is the greatest sport in the world.
right.
I'm going to spend all my money on it. I'm going to quit. This is the only thing I want to do. And then, and then you suck. And
Yeah,
then you're going to sell everything. And I never want to do it again. And this is dumb.
dude, are you like reading my fucking mind
Yeah.
all the
And,
time?
and so, and then you get a little bit more of an improvement. And
Yeah,
then you
you get a
stay in
little
that improvement.
taste. You get a little
That's right.
taste. You tiptoe into it, and then you're like,
And
ah, fuck. Yeah,
so we spend most of the time in
yeah,
that plateau stage.
yeah,
And we have to realize that if you embrace the plateau, that's actually honestly, that's where the real work is in the plateau stage. And if you stick with process and you stick with your plan in that, you will improve. You 100% will always improve. But if you don't have, honestly, the grit to stick out the plateau stage, that's where it sucks. I mean,
yeah.
I taught a class last week, and we were talking about brake adjustability. And I remember I didn't. This is back before, actually in any world, in essentially in the Moto America paddock or AMA paddock, I never saw brake graph before. So I was trying to figure out what braking was about, and brake adjustability was out, and
Right.
how did I spent 2 years doing that, like riding at lunchtime at Freddie's, riding at the end of the day at Freddie's, going to track days, and literally just with my notebook of stuff. I mean, 2 years of just trying to figure out how am I supposed to communicate this topic.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, that's where the real work is.
I love the I still occasionally when I see him I get the Josh Hayes, man, you just got to go clamp them pads together. Like sometimes you got to, man, just to see where you're at. And Josh Hayes had me do that, and holy shit, I was like, dude, I'm like way over braking for this corner, man. Like I could I could start braking way later because, when you go and quote unquote clamp them pads together, there's still fucking a lot of room, you know?
You would be surprised.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. I don't know. I didn't look at Richard's thing on this, but we saw a lot more brake bar at Road America this weekend. I don't know if it was the extra grip or what, but we saw some pretty high, much higher brake bar than we normally would have seen.
Yeah.
But also on Road America, I saw Freddie. Got to hang out with Freddie for a little bit. I hadn't
Yeah.
seen Freddie in a few years, and so I got to hang out with Freddie, and wonderful to see him. And again, he was such a major impact on my stuff. So
Well,
that was
he's
kind of
working
cool.
with the build train race stuff now,
Yep.
right? So,
Yep.
and what's awesome is I have a wet board now to track who my guests are. And dude, I'm gonna have Michaela on.
Dude, that's awesome.
She is a beast in that class, right? Holy
Yeah.
shit! Like, who the fuck is she? Like, where did she come from? Where did they find her?
It's funny. I love the idea of that program, right? I love it
Yeah,
where I go over there and they're all working on their bikes, they're asking questions, and they're just trying to get it done. And I think it's a pretty cool program. Yeah, it looks like things have tightened up quite a bit, and yeah, everything was pretty on cue. So
yeah. By the way, Andre Castanos is watching, and he's talking. He's like agreeing with everything you're saying. Freddie
Andre's
rocks and
awesome.
all that. Like
Yeah,
he's such
Andre's
a
awesome.
good dude. I
Big time.
like he and I end up almost always working together at the champ school when we're working, Streets of Willow or Button Willow or whatever. So
That's
it's
awesome.
pretty awesome.
So last thing on Road America is the baggers.
Yeah, dude.
They were so fast.
Yes.
Unbelievable.
Insane.
I
Insane.
I mean, watching, I don't know. I personally like when it comes time for the 3 lap sprint, it's like I'm dropping stuff and I'm gonna go watch the 3 lap sprint. I think it's great. I love
Yeah.
the idea of grid and like qualify and then grid and go, and it's a knife fight. So
It's
I
sort
don't
of
know.
like a dirt track kind of throwback, right? Because they do like a dash for cash race kind of thing too, right?
I think it's something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So
I enjoy it. I
I
think it's
think it's
great.
rad. And honestly, dude, like I said on the show with Richard last week, they sounded cool on TV too. Like dude, I mean, they sound like V8s. Like,
So a couple things on that. One is, I mean, all those guys are riding so hard, and of course, obviously we've got the linemans are so fast. The Indian guys. Tyler and the boys are so fast. But then look at Rispoli and Fong and Hayden. It's
yeah,
so now it's like you don't know who's going to be doing
right.
what. Unbelievable. It
Yeah,
is. It's some of the best racing and some of the best drama.
yeah.
I think it's pretty cool. And then one of the other things on Road America was the crowds. I've never seen that many. I've been going there for quite a while,
Yeah.
and I have not seen that many people there. I mean, going over the bridges, I went out and rode bicycle around and just kind of cruised around. The campgrounds were full. Like
Yeah.
the campgrounds were, there was no more camping inside the facility. It was absolutely great.
It looked
And
nuts on TV when they would pan the helicopter shot.
yep,
It looked nuts.
yeah. And again, and this is also another round where the vibe in the pits is just very, very good. It's
Yeah.
just a very upbeat, positive vibe. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, it's working.
So I've got some questions from some old school club racer questions from Sean Summers.
Oh gosh, here we go.
He says, which Chandel Motorsports paint scheme did you like the best?
I
Wow.
mean, well, I mean, the one that's the nearest and dearest to me is the Jody McAllister. We called it the pumpkin, and the pumpkin was by far that was the first bike that somebody, Mike Canfield, and my relationship with Mike goes back, I don't, God, so many, I mean, decades now at this point. But yeah, Mike was the first guy that wanted to help me out, and I got to ride his bike, and it was an honor to do that. But yeah, we had this crazy paint job. The bike was nicknamed the Pumpkin, and yeah, we won some races on that thing. It was pretty cool.
And then let's see. August Nord says she thinks that she's in the I should quit stage. Come on, August, you don't need to quit. You got fucked up a little bit. Come back swinging.
Yeah, I think
She got hurt pretty big, man. I think she
I don't
fucked her
yeah.
leg up or something.
Yeah, that I don't know what I mean I know she was riding and then she wasn't, so I don't know what the situation is, but I think all of us have come back from what makes what makes the sport so hard
Yeah.
is it's hard. Meaning that meaning that there's very few sports that have all the things that motorcycles does. Meaning it has the the mental part of it, right? So obviously the mental part is very
Yeah.
tough. Just how your mental part, the physical part as well, right? So there's a physical, but motorcycles also have the mechanical part. So very few sports have those three things together, but consequences. So that's why there's no sport that has all three of those elements and the consequences. And so to do this sport and do it right, that's why it is so intoxicating and it's so rewarding.
Yes.
And
There's nothing like it, dude.
there's nothing like it.
Yeah.
So and I also believe that regardless of, I mean, it depends on what everybody's individual goals are, but I do think that regardless of the person, you can put yourself on a pathway to meet your goals if you have a clear understanding of the process, clear understanding of the fundamentals, and you put your reps in. I truly believe anybody can go as far as they want in the sport if they stick to their plan and they stick
Yeah.
to their process. I really do.
Okay, so Sean Summers' other question was like, which club racer was your favorite to race against, and who was your least favorite?
I don't really have a least favorite. Um, well, actually, okay. Well, I did say I had a little bit of a nemesis, but my favorite for sure was Dave Stanton.
I was just gonna
Um,
suggest that.
yeah, I mean, Dave and I had some very special years together. I never won number one plate. I had a lot of number two plates against him, and I mean, Dave was just one of the fiercest, but also one of the most caring competitors.
Somebody said Corey Call would be the fit for both.
Um, I mean,
That's funny, man.
yeah, I mean, Dave was just something really. He was just super special. And him and I rode some amazing years together. So Dave for sure was my favorite guy to be around, and he's a guy that even though you'd lose, you didn't kind of mind losing because his stuff was always. He was better riding better and better squared away.
I didn't really race with AFM a lot back in the day, but when I did, I always looked at Dave Stanton as like AFM's version of Curtis Adams. You
Yeah, I
know?
mean, he was just a great
Yeah.
ambassador for the sport. He was enjoying his life and just enjoying motorcycles and enjoying motorsports. And so, yeah, Dave for sure was the rider that I wanted to beat, but I also, I wanted to aspire to be at his level.
Yeah. I can feel
Yeah.
that. I
Yeah.
can feel that. And then Trevor Watson says Canfield was around when the steam powered engines were a thing. So
Uh,
that's actually a fact, right? Fact check true. Fucking that dude is.
yeah, I think so. I mean, I don't know I think poor Mike has still got his, I don't know, whatever single 600 racer from, whenever. I think he probably bought that thing new, right? Some Yamaha
Yeah.
singles thing. So, and I'm sure Mike still has it sitting
Dude,
in
in the
the
mid
shop.
'90s, I was living in Kansas City, and I was on this like motorcycle.com BBS, and it was about the 600s or something like 96 or 97. And there was this dude on there that was like, "Oh, Canfield this and Canfield that," right? Like, I'm like, "Who the fuck is this guy?" Like, and he was just like using Canfield's dyno or whatever. But yeah, so and that was in the '90s. And
Wow.
I was in another state.
Well, Mike, I don't know. Mike is obviously considering where he's at now and who he works for,
Yeah,
and the work he does. He's
he does great
absolutely a
work.
legend.
He
Yeah,
does
he's a
great
legend
work.
for
I
sure.
really like Mike a lot. We have a good time at every time I'm at with the team. I always am hanging out with Mike. So, Mike's like, hey, you need to store something here. You can store it in my little cubby hole in my, the team
Oh my God.
toolbox or whatever. So,
Yeah, he's a good
yeah.
dude.
So, um, so the other stuff that happened was GP happened last weekend, right?
Holy
So,
smokes!
what
I
the
still
fuck's
haven't
up with the
actually. I haven't
Marquez
watched
brothers, man?
I haven't watched Moto 2, Moto 3, but MotoGP. Holy smokes! The Marquez brothers, man,
Dude,
that not good. So first of all, Honda's in a world of hurt. That is not a good situation.
yeah,
And now, I mean, riders hurt. Marquez can't finish a race.
yeah,
And when you watch him ride, you literally can see the desperation in
yes.
his riding. I mean, whether he's looking for a tow or the bike is out of shape, or I've never seen him not be I've never seen him not be this unprecise.
Yeah.
He's sloppy, and I mean, you just never
He
saw
looks
that
like he's on the ragged edge of ragged.
everywhere,
Yeah.
everywhere.
And then what's his deal with the follow the leader shit in qualifying that he's been doing since he's come back from his arm injury? He never did that before.
No, I mean he would do it a little bit, but not to this degree, not to where he basically structured his deal on it. I don't know what's up with that, other than he needs somebody else to drag him along to
Yeah.
give him the confidence that he can get through. Or I don't necessarily think he's looking for the draft part of it, but I think he's just looking to help. I think he's using those other riders as a reference
Yeah.
that he can get towed up to that pace.
Right.
He's yeah, it's
It's
bizarre.
weird, man. It's weird
It
to
is
have
weird.
a top level guy need a toe like that.
Yeah, and then
And then
then on
the qualifying shit, it looked like a nothing to me. Like the MotoGP broadcast tried to make a big deal out of the qualifying shit or whatever, the little whatever between him and Pecco. But I watched the replay over and over, and I'm like, what the fuck are you guys talking about? There was like nothing. Like, it looked like nothing.
I didn't think that one was that big of a deal. The crash in the race was interesting.
Yeah,
That basically I thought, like, what are you doing out there? And
yeah,
it was basically he didn't want to give up anything.
no,
So if he needed to roll around a little bit with a little bit more roll speed, or he made a mistake on the entry and he didn't want to he felt like he couldn't give that up. So he needed to be there. And then of course it bit him in the ass. So
yeah.
that's the level of on the
The
edge
memes
these
were
guys
funny
are.
though.
Oh my God. Yeah. And then
The skydiving one was
I
my
mean,
favorite.
I was pretty bummed about it 'cause, his brother started off the season so well. And I was like, wow, maybe he's actually gonna, calm down. But now
Yeah,
he's also sort of in the Marquez lost your mind mentality.
yeah.
So a little bit of
Yeah,
a bummer.
Pecco, just a heads up, Castanos says that Pecco needs to chill. I don't know, dude. The guy's winning
I don't dis-
everything, so like,
well, I don't disagree with that. But here's the thing: is look at how much more on the edge these guys are. Meaning the paces, obviously the pace is faster. How many times did one of the guys? It used to be you'd run wide
yeah,
and you'd either maintain position or one guy would get by you.
right.
You run wide now. Miller went.
Three
You look
guys
at
go
Miller.
by you.
Yes. And so, but if you don't push that on the entry, you're going to get passed on the entry, right?
Yeah.
So it's a crazy deal. So yeah, I don't know. I think we're seeing some pretty historic stuff, and
It looks like the sprint racing is kind of helping making them even more faster in the big race too, right?
I think the overall
Because they're pushing the edge, is what I mean.
right. I think the overall intensity is just up.
Yeah.
Like like everything got even elevated in the practice and qualifying sessions. Right now
Yeah.
that it's they can't waste time
Yeah.
because they've got to be able to get up there and make sure that they can
And
qualify
when they're
well.
a little bit off, like the Yamaha guys are a little bit off too, and they're just way off. It's like a little bit off there is like you might as well just go home almost.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, I read today. I think Quadraro was 11 seconds, 11 or 15 or slower in this race than last year, which is of course,
Jesus.
I mean that's everybody's going the opposite direction. So
Hmm.
yeah, pretty rough. Those guys have
Yeah.
yeah, that is not a good position to be in.
Yeah. I don't know what's going on there, but that sucks. You know.
Yeah.
Yeesh. Yeah. So, and then you know what, man? Like, uh, the news, I guess today, right, is Bobby Fong is coming back to Superbike.
Yeah, that's I find that interesting. Well, first of all, I love Bobby, right? I
Me
raced against
too,
Bobby.
man.
Bobby to me is like the scrapper of scrappers. He's
Yeah,
just
dude.
he whether it's a Harley or
Yeah.
whether it's a super bike or whether it's a 600, you can be guaranteed it's going to be ridden at its maximum.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that. I think that's great. Nicest guy in the world, Bobby. During his first upcoming years at AFM. So Bobby and I battled it out in a bunch of 600 races. Bobby even ran me over once. That was my
Oh,
fault.
good times.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
that
mean,
was my
look, I
that was,
remember
that was
Bobby
my
when he
fault.
was a kid, like hook him up with a free track day here and there, right? But Bobby and I have always had a pretty good relationship, and I'm actually going to have him on the show after he rides the superbike.
Oh,
But
awesome.
what's cool about the superbike he's riding is, Aussie Dave's bike. Everybody knows, right? But Aussie Dave's bike is actually the bike Jake Gagne won the title on last year. So like, it's a legit superbike. I mean,
I think it's going to be interesting to see what Bobby does because obviously it's not super fresh, but he does still have some super bike in his brain
oh yeah,
from the Suzuki. I mean, obviously he has so much big bike experience. I think it's going to be really interesting to see how he does on it.
yeah,
Also, again, going back to how Bobby rides, right? He is going to ride everything
yeah,
to to the maximum.
yeah.
So I think it's gonna be fun. And of course the
Yeah,
ridge is
I texted him. You know what? I'm gonna just read out what he said in the text because it's pretty funny. Um, he's like, I was like, dude, you haven't forgot how to ride. He's like, I know, but the fucking bagger is night and day different. And so my response to him, like, yeah, but the brake lever and throttle are still on the right side, right?
yeah. It,
So, like, he's trying to downplay he's trying to downplay it, but dude, he's stoked. Like, he's like, yeah, it's gonna take me a little bit to figure it out, but by race two, I should be ready to, like,
he's got so many reps under his belt.
yeah,
He's going to be just fine.
yeah.
I am not worried about it. Yeah, he'll go just fine. Yeah, no issue there.
And
And
Trevor, it's not minus the motor, dude. It's the legit, real deal Yamaha Superbike with the
yeah,
Morelli and the engine and everything. I think the only difference between that bike and the current bike is Richard's changed the swing arm a little bit, and Dave and his guy Nick Sillig. Nick Sillig is like his little genius guy in his pit. So Nick made a gas tank for him because, the Dave wasn't interested in the expensive, take a week to make by hand gas tanks that Richard uses. So they made a tank, and then he puts like the fiberglass shell over the top of it, like the tank covered thing. But other than that, and the bodywork, that bike is legit part bolt to bolt. That is Jake Kanye's bike from last year, including the engine. And
yeah.
I think he's got like a rotation of engines that he uses. Like he'll turn one in and Richard gives him another one kind of thing. The maintenance cycle of the engines. So yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I think, I mean, obviously it's great having Bobby ride that, and I'm sure David's finding out that a bike at that spec is a whole nother level of trying to figure stuff out. I mean, it takes a pretty good crew, I would imagine, or at least running back and forth to the attack team to try to figure out how to get that thing
yeah.
dialed in, at least for him. So.
Yeah, and Trevor Watson's like, well, except for the engine, didn't it blow up at Road America? Like, yeah, it let go. You know, um, the VP fuel for the win on that one. Um, what are you gonna do?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Um, but yeah, that's the exciting stuff that I was seeing. I don't know why Dave. Why Bobby's riding the bike instead of Dave? Is Dave injured or something? Or
I don't know.
yeah, I
I
mean,
haven't
I
heard anything
I've
on it.
heard that he's kind of like in that zone that you were talking about earlier. And I hope that's not the case.
Yeah, I mean, I hope not. I mean, Dave's been around quite a while, and obviously the guy can ride a motorcycle. So, I mean, I'm hoping. I think I mean it does have to be tough to, obviously get Jake's bike and spend the money and commit to that program. And if the performance isn't what you maybe would have expected, oh, I'll just hop on Jake Gagne's bike and I can't wait. I can't wait to get podiums all day long. And the bike is just the entry fee at that point. I mean, there's so many things that go on behind the scenes
Right.
with obviously with the crew, um, the data analysis on the engine side on a super bike, data analysis on the chassis side. I mean,
Yeah.
they're two totally different things, and all those things have got to be figured out. So
Yeah.
it's a lot to digest.
Yeah.
So
So, I have a couple more comments here. We're getting close to the hour, and I think we're going to push into that. But um, what's the deal with the bodyguards in MotoGP? I guess I looked it up, and MotoGP got a bodyguard for Vinales and Marquez, and Marquez's bodyguard straight up looked like Hulk Hogan. Like
I saw that picture, an out of
I was
shape
like,
Hulk Hogan.
what? Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
yeah,
a little bit of an out of shape Hulk
yeah.
Hogan. I got nothing. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I got nothing unless they've pissed off enough people by crashing their. I got nothing. And
Really?
Vinales, what? I mean, what?
Yeah. And I was like, is it because they were on, Italian home turf? Like, is that I couldn't figure out why those two guys and nobody else or.
Well, I can't wait for that to trickle down to the Moto America paddock.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Is to start off with that. So
Well,
it'll be good.
I'm still hoping that the Yamaha team comes up with some budget to have a cup of tea guy, you know, right? Like the World Superbike team, they have like I don't know, I can't remember the exact number. I think they had like 27 people full time in their pit, and they're the whole road crew, the traveling circus, right? And one guy, his whole job in life on the weekend is to make cups of tea. Like
Yep.
no shit. I was like, get the
Yeah.
fuck out of here.
Well, it's like also when and I'm sure well, I haven't been to World Superbike in that regard, but in Grand Prix side, when it's your time slot at hospitality,
Yeah.
you drop everything.
Yeah.
Everything gets dropped, and everyone goes to hospitality.
Oh no,
That's what you do.
that's not hospitality, dude. The hospitality, that's a whole nother thing. I'm talking about
Yeah.
just the race
No, no,
team
I know the
itself.
tea guy,
Yeah.
but I mean
Yeah.
that's how serious. Yeah, they take their food, their
Yes.
coffee, and in this case their tea very seriously.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I could only imagine what the GP's hospitality is like compared to the World Superbike, but World Superbike was pretty nuts, compared to what we have here, you know. I mean, in our pit, it's like, okay, grab a fresh and lean out of the fridge, right? Okay, put it in the oven, wait 15 minutes, right? Like that's our
Yeah.
hospitality.
Yeah, no,
So,
yeah, GP, my time in GP was no, it was you've got your slot at 13:05, the team at 13:05. You go
yeah.
over there as a team and I mean, you've got your tables, the food is just I mean, it's insane how good the food is. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Yeah. And so then the last thing I was gonna wrap with this is that Richard showed some data and we talked about it earlier.
Mm.
And it'd be pretty cool to see some data on the Supersport side.
So
These
I
are
have a little bit. Hang on a second here. Let me get I think I can do this. So,
it's pretty
let's
crazy that Supersport bikes are using data like that now too. Not in the same way as Superbike. Uh
let's see if this is going to work. Nope, I screwed that up. Hang on.
oh wow, you shared the whole
I
show.
screwed that up. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what I did. Hang on. I
Just a
have.
heads up, he rides motorcycles for a living, people. He's not an IT guy.
Oh no,
So,
I'm a moron. Oh, you know why? Because I had my window reduced. That's why.
ah,
All right, let's get this.
right
Let's
on.
get this going. Um, yeah. So I think there's a couple things like this is just some um, basic aim here. Let's see if I can get this. Oh, hang on, I got to click on that. There we go. So this is just some basic aim, and all this is, for instance, we're like
Which
say we're
rider is
coming.
this?
This is CJ,
Okay.
and this is just his. Here, let me go here. So this is just comparing his best in 2022 to his best in 2023.
Okay.
And for us, the big improvements for us were when it comes to grip. The big improvements for us were in essentially from turn in back to driving.
Yeah.
So like the blue is 2023, the black
Okay.
is 2022.
Okay.
But like there's a couple spots here. So let me blow up a couple
Yeah,
spots
blow it
and you
up.
can
Like,
see.
does he have like more slip or something right now? Like, last year versus this year? Is he using more lean angle? Is he able to get on the
Yeah,
gas
so
sooner?
the top one is speed,
Okay.
the middle one is throttle, and the last one is just some brakes. And so if you kind of look at some of these things, is we're basically able. So like on the left side of the graph here, when we look at it, you can see a little bit of a brake graph where he's able to get off. He's able to brake pressure quicker. This is just actually this is going into 7.
Okay.
He's off the brake sooner, but then he's able to get on the throttle sooner, and then that's what translates to basically roll speed.
Okay.
So it's the it's the it's the things that we talk about, which is condensing your brake zones, extending your acceleration zones. That's basically what the sport is all about. And so in this case, turn 7, he was off the brakes. And if we wanted to get into like here, actually, I could do it as time, but we'll do it as feet right now. So bear with me.
Okay.
166. Yeah, I mean, he was 60 feet earlier. So he was
Wow.
able to get off the earlier, which meant he started his drive 60 feet sooner. And that's where that speed is coming from at the top left of the screen.
And
And
that's due
then,
to the grip level?
yeah, it's basically due to the grip level, yeah.
That's
And
awesome, man.
then with coming down into 8, for example, is he did go to the brakes slightly earlier. He got the same peak brake pressure, got off of it about the same, but again, he was able to carry more roll speed through the corner. So roll speed wise, he was able to carry. Wow, is it that much? Let me double check. Yeah, he's actually able to carry about 6 more miles an hour through the middle of the corner.
No shit. That's awesome.
Yeah, and then going into the carousel. So to your point, one of the things that we actually worked on from the rider standpoint was how he was rolling off the throttle going into the carousel. So we were working on a slower roll off there, and you can see the graph we did accomplish that.
Yeah.
But all the way through the carousel, yeah, I mean his speed is up 8 miles an hour
Yeah.
at a peak 8, and then kind of in the middle we were still up 3.5. And towards the exit, we were still up 5 miles an hour, and we're still able to get to wide open throttle sooner. Yeah, I mean, just that's where the more grip is.
Hmm.
So yeah, pretty. I mean, for us, that's where a lot of the time came from.
Hmm.
And then when we look at also some of these, if you look at them from a time perspective. We even take it down even a little bit further when we start looking at it in time. Another place we made quite a bit of time was in 13. the left-hander, quite a bit more roll speed through there, and that was this year. So if you look, it's kind of over on the right-hand side of the screen. If you look at the third, um, if you look at the third tier of the data, you'll see on the brake graph that
Yeah.
there's black 2013 or 2023.
Oh
We didn't have
wow.
to use brakes there this, so
Oh
we had enough
shit.
grip. We didn't have to use brakes there, and time wise, it was pretty substantial. So again, we carried more speed through there, and then yeah, want to look at it from a time perspective of how much time we were able to pick up 3-1. Yeah, that was 2/10. So just 2/10 in that one little short section. For us, it was more about being able to being able to accelerate longer, use more brakes, get off the brakes, translated into more entry speed, and then if the bike is pointed correctly, it actually translates to a better exit. So for
Yeah.
us, that's where quite a bit of that
That that stuff that stuff lines up with basically what Cody Wyman was saying. Um, like the grip level helped him raise his confidence, and he's like, dude, you know, like you were saying, there's a little lack of feel, right? But
Yep.
at the same time, he's like, well, it feels all right. Like I'm gonna just keep laying this thing over. And he's like, all of a sudden I'm on my elbow and it's still, good.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
and we were seeing quite a bit more, again, quite a than we'd even seen in the previous years. I mean, we had seen, for a little 600, we don't typically see 15s, 14s, 15s on break, but here we even had a peak of 19 bar.
no shit.
Um, yeah,
CJ?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
No
17 bar.
kidding. The tree
Yeah.
trimmer's getting it done.
Oh no, we're only just, yeah, you wait.
That explains why you're
Yeah.
rocking the CJ tree trimmer shirt, right?
Well, dude, he's freaking earned it. So
Yeah.
pretty good. So yeah, I mean, on the data side, I mean, again, we could sit here and talk about this stuff all night. But for us, as far as Road America, the improvements for us was essentially later, get the bikes stopped sooner, and accelerate. It's just, it's
I'm
really,
curious
it's
if
pretty
if you look at the
simple.
data, like, is there any way that I mean, do the 600s wheelie a lot? Is there a way that you could change and add wheelie control in there, or
Yeah, well, we don't have. I mean, we have on our electronics, we have um, on dry TC levels of dry TC. We have 3 levels of engine braking, dry, and then we go into rain, intermediate rain settings. So I think
is
we
that
ultimately
like
have.
the GYTR kit ECU, or are you?
No, it's Graves. This for us, we're flash tune. So
Oh, okay,
we actually have 7 levels. We have 7 levels of TC total, and I think
okay,
we've got 4 or 5 engine braking strategies that we can use as well.
okay,
So I mean, we have it. We don't have TC. We don't have wheelie control on ours though.
okay,
That is where the good old rear brake comes into play.
okay, okay. So, and you guys are using kind of like the, I don't know, I haven't had flash tune stuff in a while, but like they used to call the race team package, which gave you more control over things.
I
On the
have
R1,
I
I only know the R1 stuff, right? So I'm
Yeah,
just trying to translate.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
I'm the guy that says we want it to do X, Y, and Z, and then we let them go do
There
their
you go.
thing.
There you
We
go.
just pay for it. We just pay for it.
You guys just
So,
write a check. That's awesome.
well, I don't.
Yeah,
CJ
well, the
does,
tree
but
trimmer does.
yeah.
Business must be good. Helicopter tree trimming. So,
Yeah, so I mean, again, for us, Road America was overall very good for us, and again, those were just some of the improvements that we had on our side. And again, that was just very rudimentary, looking at some things, and we can take it to the nth degree if we want to.
so Josh Merrill wants to know like what your scientific method to bike setup is.
It's funny, Josh. I'm glad that he brought that up because yeah, people get so. My job is a little bit goofy because I have to. Um, it's kind of a team manager position. It's a crew chief. It's a rider coach and data as well, right? So I've got all these hats I have to wear. So being able to figure things out in a very short amount of time. I mean, you've got data, you got rider downloads, but there's times where thankfully our Josh Merrill roll of dice come into play where we
Dude, I
just
have
don't
one of
know.
those too, but it's a little.
Yeah,
It
so it's
says
like
different shit.
if I'm just confused, right? I just kind of flip this around. I'll be like, oh, yeah, here, a softer tire. We need a softer tire. That's our
Okay.
problem. Or if I'm just completely screwed up with it, it'd be like, oh, it's real simple. We just need to, more throttle, more gas.
Oh,
It's really easy.
I mean,
So it,
okay.
as a crew chief, this really simplifies the process. And okay, here's the cool thing is now if if the rider if the rider's still like blaming the bike and crap, then we're like, okay, you know what? It's probably you, the rider, and
Yeah.
we got to pull the rider's head out of their ass a little bit.
Yeah.
So we actually have one. We have one on the rider side as well that has our fundamentals built into it. So we can just flip it and say, oh, dude, sorry, it's your bike placement. We gotta get this figured out. We got to get your bike placement. And if that doesn't work, right, next time we go, oh, you know what? It's your focus and vision. That's the problem.
Wow, dude.
So
I need
this,
to get a set of those.
dude, these have
I
been a
mean,
game changer.
if he made a rider one for me, all sides would just say, dude,
Yeah, exactly,
because I
dude.
mean they mean different stuff, right? So
It's
you
just
look at it and you're
how
like,
it's
dude,
how you exactly. So yeah, I mean, they're pretty fun. But anyway, so
yeah. Trevor Watson says tree trimmer was his nickname in high school. I say cool story, bro. Uh, yeah, Dave Moss, 3 clicks on the suspension, right? Wow,
oh yeah,
that's funny.
I think he's got a what is it, 3 clicks out or something.
Yeah, yeah,
YouTube
yeah. So
series.
Josh is doing some 3D printer stuff.
Dude, these things are awesome. These things are hysterical.
He
So
sends
yeah,
you some
buy these
track
from
maps
Josh. They're
too.
pretty cool. I think so. Yeah, I don't know.
I got some track
I don't have
maps.
any of those.
I got Button Willow.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, and I got you know the T-Rex track, right?
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I have the dice too, and it says way more colorful shit on it than yours does.
Yeah. Yeah, mine's a little bit more, I guess, PC, but
Yeah,
anyway, it's cool
yeah,
stuff.
that's cool,
Fun to play
man.
with. Yeah.
So that's your scientific method.
That is, yeah, I have so like typically if you see me behind a computer, like if I'm working computer, the thing's not even turned on. All it is I'm like just waiting to roll one of these.
Oh,
And yeah, I mean, the computer,
I mean,
it
it
just
just
looks
saves
good.
so much time, right? Just roll
Exactly.
of the dice,
Exactly.
boom, problem
It
solved.
Yeah, and rarely do we get the same one twice, so it kind of makes it look like we know what we're doing.
Okay, so you guys have, man, we're a little bit over an hour, but you have the Ridge coming up next. What do you think about what's your plan for the Ridge? Do you have anything
So for
special, anything new hotness?
um so it's funny, I mean that was actually part of my what I was working on today. And so just so people understand that, it's not like I know it all or um it's easy to do these things. I have points of reference that I have to run things by. So I looked at last year's data and I looked at last year's setup. I looked at where we were deficient last year and where our segments lagged. Luckily, I have reference data that I can look at our rider and figure out where we need to go quicker.
Right.
And so I spent some time today looking at our segments where we needed to go quicker, looking at rider inputs, throttle, brake, bike placement. I mean, we do Google or GPS placement on where bike placement is, and we spent a lot of time with that. And so today I actually did a recorded rider briefing that I sent out that has the areas that we're going to work on. We have basically 3 specific areas that we're working on where we're going to get the most of our lap time. Our straight up and down braking's good, our acceleration's good, but we've got some things that we want to work on
Yeah.
in the middle. And then the bike setup side, we're trying actually something a little bit different than what we normally do on the front setting. We've found something the last couple of races that we like. We've never run this setting at the Ridge, so we're going to try it, which is a little bit of a lighter setting in the front. We're going to do some things with some geometry to alter with that lighter setting. So
You
that's
know,
our
let me
plan.
ask you something about gear selection. Do you guys go down to first gear on the 600s at the Ridge?
Yeah, so it's actually that question came up today in one of my phone calls
And
with my
if
reference.
so, how many times? Two, three?
So um, there's a couple schools of camp on this, and um, at the Ridge there are some riders that will use first gear in turn 13, but it's not for an exit issue. It's literally to slow the effing thing down. I
At the
mean,
top of
it's
the
such
hill
a
there? That
yeah. I
one?
mean,
Yeah.
it's a 26-mile-an-hour corner, right? I
Yeah.
mean, you'd be throwing anchors off the bike if you could to get the thing to slow down.
Yeah.
So there's some riders that want to use first gear there just to do anything to get the thing slowed down. After they come over 13, they'll go from first down to second
Yeah.
because they don't first is too low, and it's strictly to slow the bike down. It has really nothing to do with exit RPM.
Right.
Um, so it is definitely an outlier in the world of using first gear, but no, it's a second, third, fourth gear track. We're actually going to try a little bit something taller with gearing. We found we're on a rev limiter in a couple of spots, so that's not going to get better if we try to up our pace. Even though the tires are a little bit taller, we're still going to go up on gearing a little bit. So
Okay. Okay.
so yeah, we got a lot of rider stuff to work on. We again did our rider briefing today. The setup of the bike's going to be a little bit different, mainly to help on throttle trajectory, like on throttle trail. So we want to make sure there's places where you're accelerating for kind of a long time. We want to make sure the bike is able to keep steering on throttle. So we're working on that, and then the last one is gearing. So
Nice. Cool.
so to answer your question, yes, I am working on stuff.
Nice. Yeah, the first gear thing is Richard's, I'm part of I drink the Kool-Aid at the attack shop, right? And yeah, like we use first gear quite a bit. And because Superbikes, like he wants to get that jump off the corner, a lot of times. But I think up there in that area that you're talking about, I mean, man, you're cooking into that thing, and it's like, dude, you need everything you got to get that thing going. So,
It's rev limiter in third gear. You come in rev
yeah.
limiter in third, and then you've got to slow down to
Well, I
26
think
or
the
24 miles
Superbikes
an
are
hour.
like rev limiter in fourth.
Yeah, I mean it's insane how fast it is, and
Yeah.
yeah, like I said, you're throwing everything off the bike to try
Yeah.
to get the thing to stop for this insane corner.
Yeah.
But yeah, the 600s we don't spend a lot of time in first gear on those bikes. We find that from a performance standpoint, and we went through this with you know Hayden, and we went through this with even Aguilar and Nick McFadden, where we found that the performance difference for us using first typically there wasn't enough performance advantage
Yeah.
that outweighed the brain space to do it.
Right.
So they're just more of a production style gearbox where they're not really
Yeah.
designed, and our R6s have actually a fairly low first gear.
Okay.
So the jump between second and first was always a little bit of a problem.
Like my reference is so R1A. So
Yeah, those
if
things do
that's a
like 100
word,
miles an hour in first gear.
yeah.
So
Yeah. So it's just a lot of guys are. I talk to a lot of club racers and stuff, and they're always a lot of club racers are pretty shy to go that far down the gearbox. Like second is about their limit, and I use first gear quite a bit, even at Buttonwillow on my bike. And I've gotten into some arguments with some guys, and then I beat them anyway. And it's like, sure, you don't want to try first, but go ahead, keep using second, man. You know.
yeah, I think if it's one of those things that if you're set up for, not, I mean, as long as if the bike is set up for it and your brain is set up for it, I think there's places where you definitely want the thing to yank off a corner. And
Right.
there was places that, I mean, a lot of places that we would use it, at least back in some of the club days, where we definitely want the thing to jump off a corner pretty hard.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And the reality is the 600 is just, I mean, a lot of my references and a lot of the shit that comes out of my mouth with things that the bikes do are 1,000 related. And
Yeah.
like it's been a minute, even though I raced 600s forever, it's almost
We're
like
gonna
I've
throw, yeah,
forgotten it.
we need to throw your ass on one of those again so you can
No,
remember what it's like.
no.
Yeah.
I like being lazy, man.
Yeah.
Right on. Well, you know what,
Awesome.
Ken? It's a good show, dude. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Of course,
Um,
yeah. These are fun, and for everybody to know, we have zero agenda. We have
no,
no
dude.
idea. We don't even know what the hell we're going to talk about till we start talking about stuff.
That's
So,
why it talks in
um,
circles a little bit. It's like, oh, we're gonna
yeah.
do here. Oh, yeah. Oh, you know what? It'd be cool if we talk about, so.
So let us know if there's something you want on these. Let us know. We'll dive into it. Obviously the questions are great as well. So
Yeah, comment, in the comments if you want to see something after the ridge, like you want to see a
yeah,
specific block of data. I mean,
sure.
shit, we could probably even have CJ join us,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, for sure. I mean,
Yeah.
that's yeah. We want these to be super fun, and
Yeah.
if they can learn a little bit of something as well, then that's awesome.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how your pre-race plan goes, because you never really how it goes. You really never really know how that plan's going to go until you get punched in the face.
That is correct.
So it'd be interesting to see how the
Yeah,
progression continues with CJ, and then also moving on to Laguna, new pavement there, so you're gonna have to deal
happening
with
now.
that, huh?
It's happening now,
Yeah, I
isn't it?
know. Like you
It's
guys are gonna
literally
be the
literally
first
happening.
ones
Yep.
on it, I think, right?
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah. So there's a lot of stuff going on, and the season's long. So I think we're gonna keep doing this, right? Like,
Yep. Let's get
yeah,
after it.
we'll do a post race one every time, pretty much. So
Yep.
if you guys want to hear something, just comment in there, and we'll add it to the next discussion. Yeah.
Great.
All right, dude.
Thank you.
Yeah.